Hi, I'm Nikki with Horn Canna Farm, and today we're going to talk about storing cannas for winter. The most common question we get in the fall is, do I have to store my cannas for winter? And the answer depends on where you live. So zones 6 and colder, cannas must be stored for winter. Zone 7 is middle ground for cannas. Zones 8 and warmer, cannas can always be left in the ground with little or no effort for winter storage. So know your zone. If you're not sure where you live, what zone you are, go to the USDA.gov website, go to the plant hardiness map. You can enter your zip code and know what hardiness zone you live in. That will determine what you're going to do with your cannas for winter. So starting out with zones 8 and warmer, you guys have it easy. The first frost, it's going to kill your foliage, cut your foliage back down to the soil level, and that's really all you have to do to take care of your cannas for the winter. Cannas are dormant. They don't need to be watered in the winter. Obviously, if it rains, that's fine, but they don't require any water. Cutting that foliage down in the fall is all you have to do. In the spring, when the soil temperatures begin to warm, your cannas will sprout. Really, you guys in zones 8 and warmer have it easy. Zone 7, that's what we are here at the farm in Oklahoma. Most years we can successfully leave our cannas in the ground with a covering of 6 or 8 inches of grass clippings, leaves, hay straw, all of that to give them a blanket for winter. That works most years. Every now and then, zone 7 will have a severe enough winter that even with that extra covering of mulch, grass clippings, leaves, hay straw, cannas will not survive. Just happens every now and then, not very often, but it can happen in zone 7. Another location for a flower bed that aids in successful winter storage in the ground is cannas planted next to the foundation of your house. They will overwinter easier. They get some of that warmth from your home throughout the winter, as well as cannas planted on the south side of your home, a building, or a fence. And they get that nice warm sun throughout the winter and helps with winter storage in the ground. So zone 6 and colder. This video mostly is for you, showing you how to dig and store your cannas for winter. Here in zone 7 in our personal flower beds, there's some years that we leave our cannas in the ground covered with leaves, grass clippings, hay straw. But today we're going to use this flower bed as an example on how to store cannas. Another question we get here at the farm is, what do you do with all of your cannas in the field? Do you have to dig and store those for winter? Yes, we do. That is our summer production, that's our crop, and that's what we harvest. We spend all winter digging, washing, storing, processing, packaging, ready for our spring shipment. So yes, everything in the field gets dug every single year. It's quite a process. Have a flower bed of cannas. The frost has already affected the foliage. We've cut all of the dead leaves off, dug a few clumps, and want to show you how we put them into storage. This is the exact same process we use here on the farm. It's a little bit smaller process. We do this type of thing on a little bit bigger scale, but this is basically how we store our cannas for the winter. So dug some cannas out of the flower bed, rinsed some of them off, left some of them with a little bit of the soil intact. That's a question that's often asked. Do I have to rinse my cannas? And you don't have to. You can store them away with some of the soil intact. You can rinse them off. They're not quite as heavy. If you're storing a large amount of rhizomes, maybe rinsing off the dirt makes it not your storage cannas not quite as heavy, but either method works. Either method works just fine for cannas. So Here are some rhizomes that we have taken over to the garden hose. These were a clump, dug them up as a clump, and as we rinsed them off, they kind of have natural joints and breaks, and they kind of break apart. This is also a good time to show any of you maybe who haven't purchased from us before what rhizomes look like that we ship in the spring. So we like to sell a 3 to 5 eye rhizome, 3 to 5 growth points. Those will produce your first stalks. So this is something about this size that we'll sell and ship in the spring. So we like to use peat moss as a storage medium. We feel like it's the best method for allowing the rhizomes to have a little bit of a moisture balance while they're in storage. Not a lot, but a little bit. So we have a plastic bag. You can use a box, a tote, or a crate. We're actually, this is a bulb crate, so it has some ventilation, has some holes in the side. We're going to poke a few extra holes in the side of our bag. And then I'm going to put in a layer of peat moss. Don't be stingy with your peat moss. It's a great storage medium. Put in a layer of cannas. And even some of these that still have soil intact, just to give you an idea of both methods. Knocking off a little bit of the extra soil. I'm going to put in another layer of peat moss. One thing I didn't mention I had previously done on the other rhizomes, I like to cut off the excess stalk. I just don't want it to disintegrate and rot while in storage, so we'll remove that. This one too. Now when you're digging the cannas out of your flower bed, as I've done here, sometimes they will break. You might even have a piece really small that will break off, or maybe your shovel dug in and cut through a portion of your rhizome. Save it, it will grow. We sell a rhizome similar to this size, but even small little pieces of rhizomes will grow. So save them and put them away with your larger rhizomes. So I've got my tote full here. I'm going to put in a little more peat moss. So we had the air holes around the sides of the plastic bag when we started. And we just loosely fold over the top of the plastic, not tight, little bit of airflow in there, not much. And we feel like this is a really successful method of storing cannas for the winter. Ideal storage temperature for cannas is around 50 degrees. Cannas will tend to sprout at 60 degrees and warmer, so keeping them in a dormant state at around 50 degrees is great for the winter. They can be stored a little cooler than 50 degrees. 50 is ideal. So a cool corner of your garage, a crawl space, an unheated basement or cellar are all great places to store cannas. This is a good time to mention what to do with your dead foliage that you cut off of your flower bed when you start this process. There are areas of the United States that struggle more with canna leaf roller, a pesky little worm that does quite a bit of damage to the leaves during the growing season. Make sure and gather up all of your leaves, burn them, bag them up, put them out at the corner for your trash to pick up. Remove them completely. Don't put them in a compost pile because the canna leaf roller will overwinter in the dead leaves. So you want to get a head start. Those of you who struggle with canna leaf rollers, you want to have a head start on next year by removing all of your dead foliage. So just a quick recap, zones 8 and warmer, cannas are always left in the ground. All you have to do is cut the foliage off to the ground level after your first frost. Zone 7 is middle ground. Cannas will almost always survive in the ground, but add 6 or 8 inches of grass clippings, leaves, hay straw to the top of your flower bed, and that helps with winter storage in the ground. And then zone 6 and colder, you have to store your cannas for winter. An ideal storage temperature is 50 degrees. Packing your cannas away in plenty of peat moss, loosely covered in plastic, and that will work. We do have gardeners and customers who tell us of other methods that they have used through the years that work for them. We always say if it's not broke, don't fix it. If you have a method of storage that works for you, hey, that's great. This is what we do at the farm. This is what we have done for years. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us here at the farm. Hope you have a great day.